Hi, my name's Jennifer Raye, and today's yoga practice is a full-length yin yoga practice. You'll need a block, maybe a strap, a bolster, and a folded blanket. So I'll see you on the mat. Welcome. For today's practice, we're going to begin on our back. So you can go ahead and come down to your mat on the floor and extend your legs out in front of you, resting your hands at your sides. If it's uncomfortable to lie on your back, you're also welcome to bend your knees and place your feet on the floor. Let's bring your feet a little wider than your hips and then allow your knees to fall in towards one another. Most importantly here, and take the first few moments of practice to simply arrive. So perhaps you've had a busy day. This time of practice is now for you. As you settle here, feel the dropping of your bones. Feel the heaviness of your skull, shoulders, hips, and feet. Invite yourself to settle. Relax any areas of tension. Soften any areas that seem held or tight. Fully arriving right here in the body. This practice of yoga truly is a practice of embodiment. We live much of the time in our head. Now this is an opportunity to really drop into feeling, to drop into sensation, to drop into the reality of the physical structure, coming home to ourselves. As we settle right here. And as you settle, you can begin to notice any areas of the body that feel tight, any areas of the body that perhaps have pain, stress associated with them. So just allow your attention to wander freely, observing areas of resistance, perhaps also observing areas of space, freedom. As you travel your attention through the body, you can also begin to notice the breath. And just noticing perhaps areas of resistance, areas the breath seems to be rough or jagged. You can observe if the breath is shallow or deep. We spend our first few moments in meditation just becoming more and more aware of what is happening now. Really releasing our day and finding greater presence, observing movement of breath, movement of sensation. As you rest here, noticing the pressure of the body on the floor, and observe differences between the left side and the right side of the body. And perhaps noticing whether one side feels heavier, one side feels lighter in some way, less restricted. And then for the next few breaths here, start to notice if the breath is rough, and if it is, just start to very gently smooth out every inhale and every exhale. And bringing the inhale all the way down to the belly. And on the exhale, allow the belly to drop as the breath leaves the body. So consciously changing the breath now to really encourage the softening, deepening, lengthening of the breath. Very gently. And with every exhale, just continuing to focus on releasing any tension, softening stress. Deep inhales and exhales through the nostrils. For the next few cycles of breath, this time you take a deep inhale through the nostrils. And on the exhale, open your mouth and exhale through the mouth. Deep exhale. Just like that a few more times. So deep inhale through both nostrils. And you open the mouth, deep exhale. Just moving at your own pace here. And one more cycle just like that. Eventually returning the breath to a natural cycle Just closing your mouth, resuming the natural breath. And from here, you can begin to open your eyes, just allow some light back into your vision. Reach your hand up towards your head, roll onto your side, and press your way up to a seated position. And from here, we'll move into our first yin yoga pose, bringing the feet together and the knees wide apart for butterfly. There are many options for butterfly. You can sit up on something here to encourage the forward tilt of the pelvis. So as you sit up on the bolster, folded blanket, you hinge the hips forward and then roll over the legs. Okay, so you can keep rolling over, perhaps support the head with your hands or with a block. You can also keep the spine nice and straight if you'd like. So if you want to just work the opening in the legs, but you don't want to round forward, maybe perhaps because you already round forward quite a bit due to bad posture, you can keep the spine straight. If you have any issues, perhaps in the knees or the hips, maybe a torn hamstring, issues in the adductors, you can always place extra support underneath your legs or knees. So use support so that you're not causing any pain or strain in the body. But if the sensation that you're experiencing is simply a kind of pressure or tugging, something that feels a bit more like a stretch, if it feels manageable, then this is a message that you're really putting appropriate stress on the tissues, and this will encourage greater flexibility and mobility over time. This is the sensation that we're looking for. If you do have a history of lower back pain especially, you do want to be careful with the forward folding, so be sure that you're hinging forward, tilting hips forward. And if you know that the forward folds aggravate your back condition, this may not be the best pose for you. So in that case, in all of the forward folds in this series today, they can be done on your back. So especially if you have a history of herniated disc, other back issues, you can come onto your back, and then for this pose you would just draw your feet together, knees apart, and you would use your hands to draw the feet up towards the chest, up towards the face, and then down towards the body. Okay, so taking butterfly on your back. You can also take butterfly against the wall. That's another option, laying on your back and then bringing the feet and the legs up against the wall in that same diamond shape. And whichever variation you've chosen here, take the first moment to really soften, settle, fully arrive. Of course, in the yin yoga practice, we remain fairly still during the course of the posture. Okay, so at any time if you start to feel pain or strain, then of course this is an indication to move the body. Most of the time the sensation is just a sort of general tugging, pulling. It's usually just an indication that you're pressurizing the tissues, encouraging greater flow, greater circulation of qi, blood, fluid through the tendons, the ligaments especially, perhaps even putting pressure on the bones in certain poses. So settling, sinking, allowing that pressure on the tissues. Slowly from here, bring the palms of your hands to the outsides of your knees. And draw your legs together. You can just take this windshield wiper action, rocking knees from one side and the other. Just releasing any sense of congestion in the joints that may have been created. Okay, and then from here, go ahead and come down to the floor. And we'll take a back bend next. So if you're familiar with seal as I'm demonstrating, you're welcome to take that. Otherwise, you just take Sphinx pose. So for Sphinx pose, you place the forearms on the floor. And the elbows are just slightly forward from the shoulders. And press gently into the forearms to lengthen the front of the spine and broaden across the collarbones. Just gently slide shoulders away from the ears to create a back bend. Okay, if you have a history of herniated disc, some sensitivity or fragility in the lower back, you'll want to engage the legs here and press your pubic bone down towards the floor. Okay, so you engage the inner thighs. Just notice that creates more stability at the lower back. You can also take a lower back bend by walking the hands further out in front of you, resting on your lower ribs. And as always, spending the first minute assessing the sensation to ensure it's a place of appropriate pressure. Once you've found that place that feels manageable, not too severe, resolve to be fairly still. So the yin yoga practice operates under this premise that through these longer held postures, we put pressure on the tissues, encouraging circulation, which helps flexibility. It also helps the flow of what's called chi or prana in the body. So through pressurizing the tissue, we encourage the movement of energy through the meridian system, the channel system. The system is spoken of in the Ayurvedic system of medicine. It's also spoken of and used within the traditional Chinese medicine system. Simply put, this is the theory that we not only have our physical bodies, but we also have a kind of energetic system. And the system affects the health of the internal organs. It affects our moods, our emotions, and our overall health. And so today's practice is focused on what we call the kidney and bladder meridians. These channels are related to the water element in the body. The kidney and bladder, the water element, are related to the deep reserve of energy we have available to us. And this is our sense of stamina or endurance. So by pressurizing and targeting these meridians, we start to tonify or build the kidney chi in the body, this deep reserve of energy. Okay, now of course, in these back bends and forward folds, we are also putting pressure on the physical kidneys, these two organs that lie along either side of the lower back. The kidneys have these little adrenal glands that sit on top of them, related, of course, to, for one, the stress response. Again, so how our body metabolizes stressful experience. And related really to deep states of fatigue and overwhelm at times. Okay, so we pressurize this area of the lower back to really encourage greater flow of prana and chi into the kidney adrenal complex. And in the next few breaths here, just very, very gently begin to bring yourself down towards the floor. And bringing your elbows out towards the sides of the mat and releasing your head. Okay, now take a few deeper breaths and really bring that breath into the lower back. Watching lower back rise on the inhale and fall on the exhale. Beautiful. And from here, press your way all the way up to a seated position. And next, we're going to take another back bend. This is a pretty deep back bend here, so we'll take saddle by bringing the feet together and the knees a little bit wider apart. Okay, now as you come down towards the floor, you can rest your hands at either side of the body. For most of us, this is not going to be available. So if you need some extra support, you start to stack bolsters, folded blankets, take as much height as you need to feel supported. So the knees shouldn't really lift off the floor here. So if the knees start to lift off the floor, you've gone a little bit too far. Of course, if there's any sense of knee pain, you've also gone too far. So this type of posture here, of course, there's compression in the lower back, but we're also very much opening the front of the body. So it's fine if you don't come down all the way. If you're already starting to feel it at the tops of the thighs, perhaps that's enough for you today. So finding a place of appropriate stress, settling breath, resting in stillness. The Yin Yoga practice asks us to really connect to the yin part of our being. A place within that is passive, receptive, slower. So yin is traditionally the shady side of the mountain. So now we have a chance to connect to rest in the yin part of our being, yin part of our nature. Slowing down. So find that breath. Just for the next few cycles of breath, you can deepen inhale, deepen exhale. Softening any rough edges in the breath. Continuing to soften and deepen every inhale and exhale. And of course, if this starts to feel like too much, you come out at any point. Eventually, bring your attention to the body. And you very, very gradually just engage the muscles now. You're going to come up right through the middle. We're going very slowly. As you engage, you press into your hands. And bring yourself up to seated. Draw your knees together. And from there you can use your hands to release the legs. And from here, drawing your knees together and dropping into a child's pose. Okay, so knees together, dropping your hips down towards your heels. And resting your head on the floor. If your head doesn't meet the floor, please do place some support underneath your head, especially if it's kind of hanging in midair. Focus here on the dropping of the sitting bones down towards the heels. Soften your inner groins and drop your outer hips. And from here, bring your attention to your lower back. And on the inhale, observe the spreading and widening of the lower back. And on the exhale, notice the dropping of the whole body, settling, sinking. A few breaths just like that. Good, and then encourage your breath now deeper and deeper into the body. Bring your breath into the back of the body. Deep inhales into the lower back, watching lower back rise on the inhale and fall on the exhale. Of course, if it's uncomfortable here to have the knees all the way together, you can bring the knees a little bit apart, especially if this pose creates any anxiety or a feeling of not being able to breathe. And for a few more cycles, really focus here on the lower back area of the kidneys. Use your attention, intention, and breath to encourage what we call the prana or chi into the area of the lower back. Again, our lower back is related to our deep stamina, our ability to endure what life gives us. So as many of us know, it's easy to become stressed in daily life. Now this is an opportunity to really nourish, to deeply care for ourselves. And in the next breath, slowly resume your natural cycle of breath. And from here, slowly rolling all the way back up to seated. Come into another forward fold, this time a posture that we call dragonfly. And so once again, it can be helpful to sit up on something here. And sitting up on something helps to create the forward tilt of the pelvis. Okay, I'm just indicating here the placement of the blanket underneath the knee. If you have, knees that hyperextend, or if you have an issue with one of the hamstrings, you can always place that roll underneath your knees. Okay, and then finding a place here where you rock the hips forward into anterior tilt as you roll between the legs. Okay, so again, it's a very passive pose, different than our active practice. The feet are gently flexed as you fold forward. And you can come to rest on your hands as I'm demonstrating. You can also allow the head and the whole body to round down towards the floor, if that's comfortable for your neck. So if you have a history of whiplash, issues with the neck, you may want to keep the neck engaged and the spine long. This pose helps to activate the inner seam of the leg. This is where the kidney meridian lies, along with the spleen and liver channels. So passively stretching the adductors, passively opening the connective tissue along the inner line of the leg. And once you've found a place that feels appropriate today, returning to simple presence on the breath. Okay, so without manipulating the breath in any way, just collect and gather your attention. Watching inhale, watching exhale. We have so few times during our day-to-day life where we rest in quiet, stillness. Really honoring this time to nourish the tissue, honoring this time of silence. Notice if the mind has wandered. Bring it back, observing inhale and exhale. Eventually, you begin to slowly roll up here. Use your hands on the outsides of the legs to draw your feet together, and then extend your legs out in front of you. You can flex the feet, and then from here we'll move into one more forward fold. This pose in the Yin tradition we call caterpillar. So sitting up on a support once again to help that forward tilt of the pelvis. And do notice if you have hyperextension in the knees, you may want to place some support underneath your legs. And then as you round forward, you can support the head with a prop, perhaps a block or another bolster, perhaps using your hands. Okay, so as always in the forward folds, you do have two options. You can round forward, or you can keep the spine long. So you keep the spine long if you want to sort of reverse maybe some of the effects of bad posture, or tendency to round forward. So if you keep the spine long, then most of the targeting is just in the legs. Once you start rounding forward, you really activate all of the tissues along either side of the spine. This is where the urinary bladder meridian lies, also a water element meridian. Okay, you can also bend the knees in the forward folds. So if you have really tight hamstrings, you just bend the knees a little bit, and then you work on really tilting the hips forward as you come into the fold. It's really not so important how far down you get. You want to just come to a place where you start to feel pressure in the tissues, a place that's going to be reasonably available over the 4 or 5 minutes we have here. Okay, eventually finding a place of relative stillness. So really, out of all of the elements, the water element is the element that we could most connect to stillness. The water element is the place of winter time. It's the time of darkness, pure potential. The kidney energy, the chi, the prana of the water element really holds within it our deep vitality. This is our sexual reproductive health. As we target now with the legs together, as we target the urinary bladder line, which runs up along the whole line of the back of the legs, we once again really encourage chi to move into this system. Of course, we also just are opening hamstrings, lower back, and through the practice of silence and stillness, we work with our meditation. Returning to watching inhale, and watching exhale. Gradually bring your attention back to breath if it's wandered. Once again, observing flow of inhale and exhale. Very slowly bringing yourself back up to seated. And walk your hands back, and then you can rest your hands behind you. Open the chest, take a deep breath into the front of the body. And from here you can come down onto your back. And we'll take a posture with the legs up. So there are a few variations you can use. One is using a block underneath your sacrum. So you want to find a place that feels really balanced here. The block is underneath the sacrum, which is the triangle-shaped bone at the base of the spine. Okay, you can take the block on its tall end, or if that's feeling unstable, you take it on its shorter end. Be sure that the support is not on your lower back, so it's a little bit lower than that. Eventually finding a place that feels fairly still here. Another option would be to use the bolster instead of the block, so that creates a little bit even more stability. You can also just begin by having the knees bent and then just alternating, maybe bringing one leg up first and then the other. And eventually, if it's comfortable for you, bringing both legs up. Allow the feet to just sort of hang above the hips. It's not so much this one about a stretch. It's more just finding a sense of stillness. It's such a nourishing pose, actually. A lot of stress, a lot of pressure on the feet and legs. So now we sort of reverse some of that flow. This is a very helpful pose if you have any kind of stagnation in the feet, any kind of swelling in the legs or ankles. It's also very calming to the nervous system. So eventually just finding a place here of stillness. Returning to this exercise of collecting and gathering attention. Most importantly, when the kidney and the water element are depleted, which can often happen with overactivity, overwork. When they become depleted, one of the best ways to take care is just through rest, through slowing down, through coming into contact with the softer, gentler aspects of ourselves. So now this is a real opportunity to slow down and connect. Notice if you've wandered, if your attention has strayed. And bring yourself back. Just resting deeply. Feel the dropping of your shoulders, softening of your belly. And eventually you can begin to bring your feet down towards the floor. And just really take your time. Noticing sensation. And then popping that bolster out from underneath you. Just slide it underneath you so that the bolster is underneath the knees. And from here you can prepare for Shavasana. And taking any support that would make you feel good here. Of course, as always, Shavasana doesn't have to be done on your back. So you can lay on your side or your belly if that's more comfortable. And placing something warm over your body helps to further encourage the nervous system to rest. And so really now close your eyes or soften your gaze and allow your body to drop. Just imagining the body is like a stone at the bottom of a river. And the breath is like this moving water over the structure of the body. Every breath drops you deeper and deeper. Just feel the spreading and widening of the lower back onto your mat. And the settling of the whole structure. This time of Shavasana is a time to deeply let go. slowly, returning your attention to the body. You can make some circles with your wrists and your feet, stretching the body, rolling onto one side. Really take your time here as you press your way up to a seated position. Maybe finding some support to sit up on, finding a place of comfort. Let's just take a moment here to drop our hands once again down towards the legs, and settling into a quiet moment of contemplation. So now we connect to a sense of gratitude for the practice, for the teachings. And may we bring the benefits of this practice out into the world so that we not only benefit, but all those we're in relation with also benefit. May all beings be well, may all beings be at peace, and may all beings know their true nature. Thank you so much for your practice. Namaste.